Hello, and welcome to the Kohlberg Express. Kohlberg developed a theory on moral reasoning, and today we are going to take a look at this theory and how to apply it in a classroom. So, what is moral reasoning? Moral reasoning is the thought process that each of us go through when we make a decision about right and wrong. Moral development is how we improve our ability to make reasonable decisions. Kohlberg broke this process down into 3 levels. Our first stop is the pre-conventional level. Let's go.
Hi, I'm Grace, and my stop is the pre-conventional level. The pre-conventional level is very basic, and is focused solely on the individual. In the pre-conventional level, you make decisions based on what you stand to lose or gain. You are aware of cultural and societal norms, but are only concerned with how a decision will affect you. For example, you make the decision not to shoot your boss only because you know there will be negative consequences for you. That's all for the pre-conventional level. Enjoy your trip to the conventional level.
Hello there. I'm Alan and my stop is here at the conventional level. When you're making decisions on the conventional level, you consider other factors besides yourself. When making a decision, you consider the expectations of society and the law. For example, when you are stopped at a red light at 3 a.m. and no one is around, you stay stopped because you respect the expectations of society. That's it for the conventional level. On to our last stop, the post-conventional level.
Hello. I'm Emma. My stop is the post-conventional level. The post-conventional level of reasoning is the level where you develop your own moral compass. In this level, you develop your own interpretation of right and wrong, and of societal expectations. You make your decisions despite personal gains or societal influences. For example, you can hold rallies or protests for something you believe in, but do so within the constraints of the law. That's it for our last level. Let's see what else Brian has to say.
Thanks, Emma. Now that we know more about moral reasoning, let's go see some real-life examples in a school. Welcome to the Walnut Grove School. Here we will meet teachers from the elementary, middle and high school levels who will tell you how they implement moral reasoning in their classrooms. The role of the teacher is to facilitate moral development. As a result, the teacher is expected to present moral dilemmas in the classroom, in order to further students' development. Isn't that right, Miss Jones?
Yes, Brian, that is correct. This can be done in 3 different ways. First, through a dilemma that is based on the curriculum or a certain discipline. Second, based on a student's life experiences. And third, based on contemporary society. We will give an example of each of the different dilemmas in different grade levels. However, it is important to remember that each example can be applied to any grade level.
Let's go visit our grade 2 classroom, where we will explore a dilemma based on a student's own experiences. Welcome to Mr. Smith's class. I will let him explain the first application of moral reasoning.
First, let me describe the first ethical situation, then we will discuss the steps to handling it in an elementary classroom. Noah generally enjoyed school. He liked his teacher and his friends. But there was one thing he didn't really like. Every day at recess, one boy from his class always teased the same girl. He always bullied her in a place where the teachers couldn't see, and would tease her until she was almost in tears. Then, he would walk away and say he was just kidding. Noah was upset that no one ever said anything to the teachers. Sometimes, Noah or someone else would stick up for the girl, but that only worked for one day. Noah was scared that, if he told the teachers, the other kids would call him a tattletale, and he didn't want the bully to go for him instead. So, Noah's dilemma is, should he tattle, or should he ignore it? Now, the first step to introduce this in the classroom is to introduce warm-up exercises. This gets the students' attention and keeps them engaged. You can ask questions like, have you ever said anything mean to someone, or has someone said something mean to you? Then, follow up the question with, how did that make you feel? This helps the students relate to the dilemma. The second step is where you would actually present the situation, and tell the story to the students. Ensure that you discuss the dilemma in detail. The third step is to initiate deep thinking questions with the students where they explore the situation deeper. These are questions like, what would you do in Noah's situation? Or have you experienced this before? And are you happy with how you acted? The fourth step is group work. Ask the students to discuss their answers together. For example, you could ask the students to work together to produce a solution for Noah. The fifth step is expand the story. Ask the students to think of other external factors that could have affected the situation. This allows the students to understand more deeply, and to realize that most actions stem from somewhere else or another hidden reason. Finally, the last step is the reflection stage. This step summarizes everything, and allows the students to reflect on their findings and develop lifelong learning. Using this method makes it easy to present situations to lower grade students and makes it easy for them to relate and comprehend.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Let's head over to our middle school classroom, where we will study a dilemma within the curriculum. This is Mrs. Moore. She is going to explain how to incorporate moral reasoning into a middle school classroom.
Hi there. Our example for middle school is a curriculum-based moral dilemma. The first step is to confront the dilemma. Explain the dilemma to the students. For our example, we have the situation regarding the Native Americans in Canada. Native Americans have been inhabiting Canadian lands for years before European settlement. Upon their arrival, the Europeans claimed the land as their own. They also set up their own government that gave them legal rights to the land and a police force that persecuted the Native Americans who did not abide by the new boundary laws. In one particular example, a band of Native Americans were removed from fertile land and were placed onto land that was completely infertile. The land was then harvested by the Europeans, and the Native Americans were coerced into trading for crops from land that was originally theirs. Desperate for food, the Native Americans sneak onto the land and steal crops. The second step is to state a tentative position. Give students time to reflect on the dilemma, and decide whether they believe the actions were right or wrong. The third step is to examine reasoning. Ask the students difficult questions such as, should the Native Americans stolen the crops? Then, see if the students' original positions change based on these questions. The last step is to reflect on individual positions. Ask students to remember all the different reasons given during discussion. Then, ask students to rank the reasons based on their acceptability in justifying a position. For example, if the students believe the Native Americans were justified in stealing, then, ask the students for the most acceptable reason against their position. This will help students understand both sides of the dilemma.
Thank you. Finally, let's go view an example of how to apply reasoning at a high school level. We will use an example of a contemporary dilemma. This is Mr. Wilson. He is going to describe how he integrates moral reasoning into his classroom using a contemporary dilemma.
The first step is to confront the moral dilemma. Present the issue to the students. In this case, we have a situation where Heinz's wife is dying from a particular type of cancer. This is similar to the dilemma surrounding AIDS in today's society. The doctors have found a new drug that may save her. A local chemist discovered the drug, and Heinz tried desperately to buy some from him. However, he was charging more than 10 times the cost to make the drug. And Heinz could not afford it. This is again similar to the AIDS situation in today's society. The life-saving drug that previously cost $13 per pill now costs $700. With help from family and friends, Heinz raised half the money, and begged the chemist to sell him the drug for half now, and allow him to pay half later, but the chemist refused. He said that he discovered the drug and was going to make money from it. So later that night, Heinz stole the drug from the chemist. The second step is to state a tentative position. Allow the students to reflect, and come up with their position on Heinz's actions. Then, as a class, come up with one position. Step 3 is to examine reasoning. Ask the students tough questions such as, should Heinz have stolen the drug? Or would it be different if the dying person were a stranger? Give students time to reflect, and see if they change their positions. The final step is to reflect upon individual positions. Ask your students to reflect and summarize their reasoning. Ask students to consider the reasons of the opposite position. For example, if students think Heinz should steal the drug, ask them to consider reasons why not. This will help them to understand the situation and why a decision is made.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wilson. That concludes our study of classroom applications. Let's head outside for some final reflection. Now that you better understand Kohlberg and moral reasoning, consider this deep thinking question.